the question, why do we need an arts council? Why does government money need to fund the arts? You'd think there's enough interest in the arts in the public to, fund it themselves and make lots of money. And the answer is, of course, no, because the arts isn't what you watch. You watch stuff that's entertaining, and then you have the arts. The arts are ideological. The arts are liberal, and they're going to propagandize to you in the same way and in the same mechanism that a medieval Christian cathedral would do so. So this is, as you can see, the Alberta Rose Theatre, and they present Amendment, Righting Our Wrongs.
You know it's going to be good.
You know it's going to be good. Calling out for human rights, a concert featuring trailblazing composers, poets, and activists, showcasing dynamic new works that look to our past to inspire a better future. I don't know what percentage of this is funded with government money. I just know it's most of it. This is by Melissa Dunphy. And so the piece juxtaposes voices of the founding fathers with those of minoritized women fighting for universal voting rights, including Ida B. Wells and Stacey Abrams.
Is that not kind of cruel on the women? Because you're going to hear this, eloquent and coherent speech from Washington, and then Stacey Abrams.
For anyone who doesn't remember Stacey Abrams, she's the repeatedly failed gubernatorial candidate for Georgia, who was also portrayed as the Emperor of Earth in Star Trek. Well, it's not Emperor of Earth, but the person in charge of the Federation. Taylor Stewart, the visionary founder of the Oregon Remembrance Project, who will share impactful stories throughout the performance. God, you can just see this sounds amazing, don't you? Right? Including Oregon's most widely documented African-American victim of lynching, Oregon. Oregon had an African-American victim of lynching. That must be the only one. But Oregon's an insanely white state.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And especially back in the day.
Yeah.
It's not Alabama South.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they found one, right? Stewart was known for his thought-provoking TEDx talk, quote, "How do you reconcile a lynching?" My God, how many hundreds of years has it been, right? And so basically, we'll talk about Oregon's history of racial injustice and pave the way for meaningful social change. Hi, folks. Sorry to interrupt the video, but I just wanted to announce that we have a new line of merch in our merch store. The merch store was kind of empty for a while, and so I thought, right, okay, what do I actually want on shirts? And so I just went through some of the most epic and true things that I think that historical people have said, and John managed to make an amazing set of merch out of it. And we will have extra things coming in the store, such as posters for these to go on. Thanks for everything, folks. Now back to the video. So I went and looked up the lady who's done this. Now, I looked at her Twitter account, and she doesn't... Right, it's going to be fine. She's an obvious shitlib, right? But she doesn't seem to be that bad. Like, she doesn't seem evil. She's not like, but she just obviously believes all this stuff. Right? She's just, but her personally, probably a nice person. Don't go and talk to her or anything like that. Don't go leave a comment. She seems like a nice enough person. But you can see the kind of thing. The premiere of American Dreamers, United We Dream. The lyrics are, "This is where we found our home away from home. This is where we belong. Mother Earth, who feeds us all, takes our roots, their roots, no matter how long, how short. She's whispering, this is where you belong. Resist, resist." Oh, there's no way. And as you can see by the 2.2 thousand views this has had,
it might be not entirely funded by the public.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way this is self-funded, right? Just
how much was a ticket out of interest? If you go back, there was a link that said...
The tickets were something like $40 at most. So $40 for adults, $30 for seniors, blah, blah, blah.
$5 for arts of all.
Yeah. And I expect most of the people watching this probably fellow art students.
Okay.
So yeah, this isn't self-funded. There's a bit of a aside there. How about the Me Too song?
Why would you make one? What would the point?
Well,
I pitched that to you as a project for this company. You'd laugh at me, and rightly so.
I mean, I would be curious about the angle.
Okay.
Some of the lyrics go like this. "This is our riot act. This is our revolution. This is our riot act. This is our manifesto." Talking about their monstrous actions. It's time for them to fear being named.
Oh, God. By
the same voices they silenced. So they are going to get named.
All right.
Is this people in the Epstein list?
It sounds rather anti-Semitic, doesn't it? Anyway, so what inspired this was this video that went around.
Perfect performance.
Oh, it's amazing.
This mastery of the liberal arts
Yes.
manifest.
So as you can see, it's called Identity Politics from Amendment, Righting Our Wrongs by Melissa Dunphy. Text by Stacey Abrams, Melissa Dunphy, and Ida B. Wells. So what they've done is lifted some lyrics, some text from Ida B. Wells. From the All Souls Choir.
She's that lunatic.
Yeah, from
Critical race.
early 20th century.
Okay.
She was a journalist, radical race activist. But I thought we'd watch it, and we'll talk about it in a second.
Beautiful.
Beat. Valid ID.
Nice rhyme.
That's literally what the is.
Yeah.
We'll get to
Criminals, yeah. So, I mean, that is a commercial success. I think you'll agree. This, yeah, I mean,
clearly doesn't need public funding.
Yeah. I'm finally in favour of face masks.
Really yeah, they're all masks. I didn't even know
really
this.
Improve a choir.
Oh my God. Right. So, I mean, first things first, right? I just want to talk about the framing of this. Because, like, this is just the most self-indulgent thing you've ever heard. Because this kind of, choir music would normally have been praises to God. So it's not about you.
Right? They're in a church.
Yeah, exactly. They're in a church. It would have been praise to God. It would have been praise to creation. It would have been about something other than yourself that you are looking up to. But no, now we're going to adopt that frame of worship and praise and go right on me. No, our rights depend. Our democracy is all about me. We are the most important thing. And I feel it's just kind of gross, right? That's just kind of gross to adopt the aesthetic of divine worship. I mean, I'm an atheist, but I can respect at least there's a beauty to this.
Yeah.
And they're totally co-opting it and making it utterly cringe, right? So that, and they're just making it unbelievably self-centered. I'm at the point where I'm like, remember when Jordan Peterson first came out? There was a video of one of his lectures, and he's just like, "Oh, haven't we heard enough about your rights?" And I'm just exactly at that point now. I'm just like, yeah, I actually am just sick of your rights, very tired of it, right? But I thought we'd just go through some of the things because I just think these are hilarious, right? Our rights depend on whether we live in the right state. Yeah. She states rights.
I might preempt a bit of this, but I hate this whole conversation that your rights are just given to you.
Well,
there's a Polish phrase I much more prefer, which is we do not beg for freedom, we fight for it.
Yeah.
It's just
that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is their machine gun.
Just liberal beggars.
But this, I mean, I think they don't understand. Liberals tend not to understand what human rights are. So what liberals think is a human right is generally something that's nice to have. Like, it's nice to have free healthcare.
Like broadband.
Yeah, it's nice to have broadband. Yeah. It's not a human right.
I'm not going to let Jeremy Corbyn forget this.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn was like, everyone, broadband is a human right. Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
A human right, a right can't be something that imposes a burden on someone else.
Yeah.
Because, if you take the free broadband to its logical extent, if that's a human right, then eventually the state's going to have to hold broadband engineers at gunpoint.
Like they did with doctors in Cuba.
Plug the cable in!
Like they literally did with doctors in Cuba.
Literally.
Yeah.
But that's the point. A human right, in like the sort of classical liberal formulation, a human right is something intrinsic to the person that they possess with them wherever they go. So if they're on their own in the woods, then they have the right to do this, that, the other, because it's within their natural power.
Yeah,
if anyone tries to stop me.
Exactly. This is the law of nature.
Yeah, so human rights can only be taken away by someone. They can't be given by someone.
Exactly, but not to these people. To these people, and this is the key problem between like the Lockean view of liberalism, the Rousseauian view. The Rousseauian view makes the state nature itself, because of course in the Lockean view, well, nature provides the food, the resources, the power of my limbs and stuff like this. But no. If we replace nature with the state, and nature being a kind of proxy for God, now the state has to do all of these things.
Yeah.
The state has to provide you with broadband, because you would have had broadband in the state of nature, don't you?
Yeah.
That's literally where they're at.
I know.
It's just moronic.
I hate liberals.
Right. So yeah, our rights depend on whether we live in the right state. Well, I mean, not from the classical liberal perspective, but in the sort of like, neo-Marxist form of liberalism, yeah, that's
if
totally
I beg for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, our rights depend on where we were born. Again, not classically liberal, of course, but in their new sort of total state paradigm, that's true. And what they're complaining is that means that there are some places on earth that aren't comprehensively liberal. There are some places that are just partially liberal, like normal places, like England. Like I was going to say Canada.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, yeah. Okay. 20, 30 years ago, places that are like partially liberal. And so they would believe that actually there's something outside of the purview of the state. But of course, these people don't think about it. But they're also thinking, okay, all of mankind is living under this burden. So they say, well, our rights depend on when and how our family arrives. Yeah. If you break into a country, actually, you don't really have many rights to things in that country, and you should just get deported because you're illegal. That's totally true. Yeah. But this is an injustice. Okay, fair enough. Then, of course, our rights depend on whether we can afford valid ID.
No. What do you even do with that?
Well, they think that black people are too poor to buy ID.
Also, IDs haven't been around that long, because you didn't have.
Yeah, John Locke didn't have an ID.
He wasn't like buying booze with his portrait of himself. Lock it.
But that's the thing. If you deeply cared about ID laws, I mean, you'd fight for them. Like you'd sincerely actually fight, and then you'd make sure you won't have to show them. But
yeah, think of it as a COVID,
none of these people are going to fight.
Think of it as a COVID passport.
Yeah, that's a good selling point. But think about the previous one. They're like, our rights depend on when and how our family arrive, because of course they think that no human's illegal. So the concept of ID is just a way of excluding those people who, for normal people, shouldn't be in your country and are taking resources they don't deserve, right? But so then, of course, they go, our rights depend on the lawyers we can afford. Well,
I know you missed one there.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah. The rights depend on the ID matches our gender. Breaking ground in liberal thought. I mean, it's true.
This is an example of them getting what a human right is completely arse about tit, because they think it's a human right for somebody to say that you are the gender that you pretend you're being or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's not it's my human right to not be compelled to say things that I don't want to say. Yeah. It's my human right to say you want to say your gender is Z-Zem. And I don't want to refer to you as Z-Zem.
If I want to be Two-Face and burn off half of my face, I don't look like the ID anymore.
Yeah.
It's not gonna, there is nothing to say about that, is there?
Really? Not really. It's just hilarious cringe that, like you said, has to be funded by the government.
Yeah.
But anyway, our rights depend on the lawyers we can afford. Now, that is actually a sort of technical legal issue about this. Yeah, that's actually an issue, but that was solved about 70 years ago when the state provided you with defense lawyers.
Yeah.
So not really an issue. Moving on. Our rights depend on whether the criminal justice system has convicted us of certain crimes under the law. Yeah, that's what the law is.
Yeah, that's what punishment is.
Your rights of freedom of movement, for example, is rather restricted if you rape and murder someone.
Yeah.
And I would say justly.
Think of that for a minute.
I'm an old hat.
You could claim asylum in their view in a foreign country, because let's say I go out and kill 10 people tomorrow. Well, I'm going to be oppressed by the state after all that.
Yes.
So then I should go and
Foucauldian analysis.
Yeah, I'm like, DPRK, let me in.
Yeah.
I'm an asylum seeker.
Yeah. And well, in Portland or wherever this was, let me in. And they'll be like, oh my God, you're an oppressed asylum seeker. You only murdered 10 people. And so
would actually take you in for that. They'll kick you out.
Yeah, North Korea, I'm going to take that. But like California will take
No, but that's what I mean. It's like, the North Koreans are like, that's a bit
but I love this. Whether it's convicted us for certain crimes of the law. Yeah, obviously it does.
Pedophile rights.
Exactly.
No?
Man, that's where all this stuff is going.
It totally is.
Yeah.
It totally is. But because pedophiles are humans. And it's like, yes, that is true. Pedophiles are humans. Well, they've got human rights. Oh, look, they're being oppressed by the criminal justice system. It's inhibiting their rights to access to children under the law. It's like,
yeah,
good. But then I'm not a liberal, so, but a system that targets some of us more than others. Yeah, the lawbreakers. There's no point targeting little old grannies who aren't committing a crime when you've got literally urban mobs rampaging through the street, stabbing people.
Well, it's interesting that liberals will always bring up the sort of disparities, racial disparities in homicide statistics or whatever it is, as evidence that the criminal justice system is
actually run by
biased.
KGB who hates black people.
It's biased against this racial group. But then 95% of homicide arrests are men.
Yeah.
So are they also deeply sexist and biased?
No, not on this particular occasion, but on that one, yes. But that's the point, isn't it? Like, no, the criminal justice system is biased against crime.
Yeah.
That's just it. So who's committing the crimes? Well, they're stepping into that category. Anyway, so a system that targets some of us more than others. This is the next battle for our democracy. And I'm like, right, your democracy sounds like it's going to be really defensive of rapists. Because the next line is one where all citizens can have their say about the vision we want for our country. So we need to have a discussion about this. So we need the rapist and his victim, and they will be given equal amount of screen time to make their case as to why what they did was right. Otherwise, they're not getting an equal say about the vision they want for their country.
Look, we need representative government, a representation of society, and that includes rapists. So the first rapist MP will be celebrated as a step forward towards that future.
He's your elected representative.
Yeah.
And it'll be called Chris Pincher.
But the funny thing about this is as well, like you listed that crap there, and you probably got more as well.
Yes, I do.
Is obviously that's not the end.
No.
Even the crap they sung about isn't the end. There's a never-ending list of what real liberalism is.
Yes, we need to hear Jimmy Savile's view on the vision he wants for our country. I mean, I'm just, and that's liberty and justice for all.
I reckon we can run the numbers actually. A percentage of people in society who are rapists, pedophiles, etc., then how many MPs they should have who are because I did see before we started there was a celebration of a new member of the Spanish Parliament who's got Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And right-wing accounts were celebrating this, saying, "Woo, first Down syndrome MP," and she's a right-winger. It's just like, yeah, this literally is the Labour Party the other day when they said they wanted retard representation. It's like, this isn't worthwhile. This is a waste of time if this is what we're doing.
I think it's a testament to how far Down syndrome people have come. Because I think in the old days it meant you were properly, developmentally disabled. But now, like I met a Down syndrome lassie she's an Olympian as well, and man, you wouldn't know apart from the facial features. But talking to her, you wouldn't know.
I'm not saying that someone with Down syndrome can't be a politician or anything like that. I don't know.
No, but the argument is that you need representation, and representation is on all fronts.
Yeah, sorry, we need rapist representation.
Yeah, you need actually genuinely mentally ill representation. You need people with dementia to be represented by an MP with dementia now.
Yeah.
I think representative government is a stupid idea, just on the face of it.
If we start excluding developmentally disabled people from government,
we'll be out of MPs.
Who are we going to have?
Liberalism collapses. Sorry, what happened? We end up being well governed. We have sensible policies.
Yeah, and also, man, they do have representation because
there's the entire Labour Party
you're actually in prison at that time. You can go and cast your vote.
Yeah.
So there's no law denying people with Down syndrome or people who've served a sentence for whatever crime.
What about Holocaust denial representation? I mean, is that something like if you want to go on everything? Actually, I just thought we have to do viewpoint as well. So the Nazis will actually need their own representative to be in the British government.
If somebody's got Nazi viewpoints and they're not in jail, they can.
We need an MP.
They can cast a vote. I mean, they probably won't get the result they want, but they've cast their vote. They can see that little number in the polling results.
But anyway, so the final one is our rights depend on whether we have time to stand in line for hours on a weekday, on whether we were purged from the rolls, and whether our votes were spoiled and left in uncounted piles. So now it's become a pro-Trump song, right? Come on, that's so
I was
good.
going to say.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally never happened to the left,
Yeah.
you know, but it has happened to the right.
All rights depend on if the other side prints a billion ballots.
So I'm just saying, I'm really tired of the concept of their rights, and this was total cringe.
They sound like conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I think so.
And this thing about it,
Yeah.
Like this being
No,
funded.
that's a good point. How could they dare criticize the integrity of American elections?
They're basically insurrectionists.
I agree, and we should stop funding them with our tax money.
We definitely should stop funding the arts with our tax money, because I mean I've seen this a lot in comedy. I mean, I can understand, it's all right, some like opera or ballet. I mean, it's part of sort of Western cultural heritage that I think it's worth keeping alive. It'd be nicer if they just put the price of the tickets up and rich people paid for it. But some of this stuff, like I remember, like during COVID, I didn't have much on, so I thought I'll apply to the Arts Council has finally accepted comedy as an art form, so I'm going to apply for money. And it was like the amount of like you had to tick all these boxes, so I had to be like, yeah, I'm gender queer and I'm non-binary and all this stuff. And also then they were all like, they had all these things they had to hit, like has it got an anti-racist message? Has it got all this? And man, it's just the idea that you're going to put on a play at the Pleasance or whatever, and like it's going to have a powerful anti-racist message. You read these reviews in the Guardian; it's such a powerful anti-racist message. It's like, man, who are you convincing? Yeah. Who are you like? What racists are being like? I'm going to go and see this. I'm going to go and see this play. And then I saw that play. Now I'm not racist anymore. It's like, are you mental? You're just preaching to the choir, and it just skews the market. So you got these dog shit comedians that get money for to put on their funny play or to do their show. And then, that's clogging up a theatre space. Also, anybody who goes to see that is going to be like, well, comedy's terrible. I'm never going to see this again. Go to the cinema next time.
Yep.
So the Arts Council is a completely, it makes the arts worse. And also we have to pay for it. And I hate paying for stuff.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the book club series, this one on When Kids Say They're Trans. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.